Sarah, and this is Pastor Jeff, and welcome back to our little vlog, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Questions about God and stuff.
And stuff. We don't have a name yet, but we'll figure that out.
But we're glad that you're here. This is our second one, right, Sarah?
Yep. And we're going to be doing a continuation of our last video, because while we did touch the surface of the topic, I felt that we probably could use some more in-depth discussion about it before we just tossed this subject entirely and moved on to something new.
And what was that topic?
Angels and demons.
Angels and demons, because it was Halloween. So we decided we'd capitalize on that. And so why don't we get right to it, Sarah?
All right. Well, I'll start with my first question. I have paper here instead. So my first question to you is, what have you learned from your experience with exorcisms?
Oh, whoa, let's jump right into it, huh? Yeah, so I'm the pastor of Chesapeake Community of Hope, and I've actually been involved in about 3 dozen, give or take. I wouldn't technically call them exorcisms. So in the Bible, the word is actually demonization. And so we typically hear in society about exorcism, and probably the differential is that an exorcism is one where it's a non-Christian and a demon actually would have total control of the individual. I've never been involved with that extent, although I've been involved with people who had a background with Christ in the church, but whatever happened in their lives, demons actually began to oppress them greatly. And so I had to cast them out. And so that's a little differential, but it's still, a demonization is still a significant oppression. In fact, the end goal of really every demonization is the demon wants you to commit suicide. So that's kind of their end game.
No, that's some crazy stuff. I had no idea there was a difference.
Yes.
Or that there were 2 different ways that demons could really interact with your life like that. So.
Well, if you're a Christian, a demon can't possess your soul, okay? Because you have the Holy Spirit. But, sometimes you get into gray areas with that, because the bottom line is there's a demon there, and it's doing some dastardly stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Right. So, a few other things just to get more emphasis.
Sure.
Is just something, because a big part of when we talk about demons is discernment. So how necessarily do you tell, and what's the difference between what an evil spirit itself does, like a demon, or what maybe the devil uses through culture and through environmental needs?
Oh, I know where you're going with that, because we talked a little bit about that. So here's what I found is that one of the strategies of the demon is they feed you lies. So the demon will put thoughts in your mind that are lies, usually about yourself, about God. It's like, so God doesn't love me, God has no power, God doesn't care, you deserved whatever you got, stuff like that. And so what I came to realize is I worked through a lot, because I got a big list of lies from the different people that I've worked with. And society, the devil works through society kind of the same way. Let me use you as an example, as a woman, right? So if you're a woman, whenever we go through a grocery store or some kind of a store, what do we see at the checkout counter? All these magazines with pictures of airbrushed women, right? And you're supposed to be this picture perfect woman in whatever, in beauty, size, shape, all that kind of stuff, right? And what does it end up making you feel like when you see that all the time?
Well, generally, if you let it get to you, not necessarily the greatest. You start comparing yourself.
Exactly. And so God doesn't look at you that way, because he says, you're a princess. You're my princess. And yet the same lies, though, are spread throughout culture. And we could use lots of different examples. And so there was just amazing parallel there, as I realized that the demons speak lies directly, but Satan plants lies through the culture as well, and it's just as impactful.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to get out of the way.
Absolutely, and recognize the lies you believe.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to talk about is it sort of the reality, the authenticity of the term, the spirit of depression is on someone. Which then we kind of get into mental illness.
Yes.
So I want to hear your take on that from this perspective.
Sure.
And also how people can be unaware of when demons interact with them in their life.
Yeah, so that's two different questions, but we'll take them both. First of all, there is a spirit of depression, and I've actually encountered a spirit of depression where I've had to cast out the spirit of depression. And so it's kind of amazing because we think, depression could be genetic, it could be environmental, and it can be all of those things. And then there's also an actual spirit of depression. And we don't usually think in those terms, but that's absolutely true. So a person could have depression from any of those sources. Could be their environment, it could be genetics in part, or it could be an actual evil spirit that's causing it. And so that's part of trying to discern the process of, was there an evil spirit affecting you, or is it something else? Right. And I forgot what was the
it's all right.
other question.
I sort of want to talk about how it's possible for people to be unaware of demonic presence in their own life.
Oh, okay, yeah. So typically, a lot of times what'll happen is people won't realize, they don't know that this is a demon. They just know, wow, I got these thoughts and they're just not my kind of thoughts, and they're really bad thoughts. Or an individual might really struggle with some kind of sin in their life that they really don't want, but they can't get over. And again, it might be an evil spirit that's causing that, or it could be some other source, right? Because we have addictions that are not an evil spirit, but we've gotten into bad patterns of behavior, and they're hard to kick, right? Yeah, the weakness of our flesh. But sometimes it is an evil spirit. I've known people who, for example, had drug addictions and had an individual who prayed over them and cast an evil spirit out, and the drug addiction was just gone.
That's crazy.
That's not real common.
No.
But it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
That's almost akin to like a physical healing because of what drugs do to your body and how they become dependent on it.
Yes.
So I could see why that would be something that people don't hear about very often.
Yes. That's a really good insight too.
Yeah. Because it is, from what I've studied, it is something that it's not just a mental thing, it's also a biological thing when you start using substances. So, no, that's pretty crazy though.
Yeah.
It's a physical healing too.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I have two more questions for you.
Okay, great.
Another one I have is just elaborating on your experiences with demons and exorcisms and angels and etc. What are your experiences? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that's where we've talked. I got to be a little sensitive. I do have one individual who's given me permission to use examples of from their situation. The others really haven't, and so. But I can tell you one thing that's just generic, is pretty across the board, is that it's been interesting for me to see when an individual has an evil spirit. So the evil spirit's kind of in the background, and the individual's in the foreground, and so you work with the individual to identify what the lies are, how the evil spirit has permission to stay there, and sometimes an individual might be too ashamed of the things they've done, and so I'll have to call out the evil spirit to come out front, and then I'll actually have to deal directly and talk directly with the evil spirit, which is not a preferential thing to do, but sometimes you have to do that, and it just shows the power of shame. And whether we have an evil spirit or whether it's just shame from the stuff that we've done, that's why Jesus is so sweet, because Jesus never piles shame on us. He loves us, he forgives us, you know, and he says, oh, let me take all that stuff because that's what I died on the cross for. But that's just one thing that's been interesting. And then what I usually try and do with an individual is I'll have the evil spirit speak into their mind the lies that have been told, and then they'll repeat them, and I'll point out, see, these are things you thought were true, but they're really lies. And so that's a really important part of the process.
It's really powerful.
It really is, because, you know, we all believe lies that are unhealthy for us, but when an evil spirit's been just slamming them into you for a long period of time, it's hard to sort that out, what's truth and what's a lie.
And I'm sure that sort of realizing what those lies are allows the person to open up to God so that through their free will he can get rid of it and take care of it.
Yeah, and that brings up actually a really important thing is I've discovered is that it's important, sometimes I'll do Emmanuel prayer with an individual, so after the demons are gone, the person's empty, but guess what, they need to be filled with Jesus. And so sometimes then I'll do Emmanuel prayer and I'll actually ask Jesus to come to them and speak to them in a memory or let them know something about Jesus, because just because the evil spirit's gone doesn't mean the person's all filled up with joy and happiness and knows the Lord, right? So you need to bring Jesus into the equation then, so they can know the one who just freed them from the evil spirit.
Yeah, like an emptying and a refilling.
Absolutely, an emptying and a refilling. That's well stated.
Okay, well, I guess I'll go to our last question.
Okay.
Which is, have you ever seen an angel? Since we haven't really been talking about that.
Yeah, we want to get to the positive ones. Absolutely. I cannot say that I've ever seen an angel. I did have one experience in which was threatening, and I believe an angel intervened, but I didn't see it. I saw the result of it. I have known people, though, have seen angels, and so I'm a little jealous of that because I haven't had that privilege.
Yeah.
So
that'd be something.
That would be really neat, but I have never seen one with my own two eyes. Yeah.
Me neither, but that's a real privilege.
Yeah. Well, thanks for those questions. Yeah. And just for our viewers, I just encourage you, you know, if you are struggling with some thoughts, you just think these just don't seem like mine, or struggling with some things that you just really don't want to, and you want to find out, is there possible, especially if you've been involved with a cult or palm reader or anything like that, those are things to stay away from because they're entry paths to demons. And but if you do, go to our website, www.ccohchurch.com, and you can just connect with me through an email through that, and if I can get back to you and we can see if we can help you at all.
Yeah, and just thank you for listening to us. I hope you learned something new, and just have a good day, evening, morning.
And walk in the love of Jesus.
Amen.